Report is the analysis you need.
Go back. He looks, fires for the end zone. Intercepted. The 20, the 10, the 5. Touchdown. Matt Ware. Midfield. He's at 40. He's going to go. Deshaun Jackson. He steps up his head and falls forward. And he fumbles the football and the Eagles have it. It's gone. And the Eagles win.
It's all birds. All the time.
And welcome to another edition of the AATBirds Weekly Report. Sorry, I got a little big pop screen message on the computer there. So AATBirds Weekly Report. I myself, Johnny Ulecka, is joined as always by Chip at Chip for the Birds. And the Eagles had really not a ton of news going on, but there is some news in terms of the owners' meetings with the NFL, some rule changes, some differences, some different things happening there. So definitely want to dive in and get into that. We will talk about the couple free agents the Eagles signed, not huge names, but just a couple pieces there. And I do have a fun little game to end the show, a thing that I posted, I believe it was last Saturday, last weekend, Saturday or Sunday, a kind of a what if type of scenario, something that I may start to incorporate the end of shows, some conversational type of stuff there, which will be some fun to give our what we think. But Chip, how are we doing this week?
I'm good. I mean, like you said, it was a very laid back week as an Eagles fan, which was slightly bizarre. I mean, nothing too crazy happened. You know, the Eagles continue to be a quarterback factory. We're going to talk about that. We've lost some players that we kind of knew we're going to lose along the way. The rule changes have made it impossible for defense to be a thing. So I mean, we're gonna kind of get into all that. I'm a fan of one of the rules. I'm not a fan of the other. Most importantly, Phillies start tomorrow, and I know the Mariners start in about 2 hours. So I know you're excited for that.
More like an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay, all right,
but
okay.
It's okay there. But yeah, it's just, you know, the big thing with the owners' meetings was the whole Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie spoke. They peppered him with some of the questions about why they kept Nick Sirianni and everything. And if you figured that was gonna happen,
it was inevitable.
You know, it's to me, I'm kind of past it. Everyone keeps wanting to bring it up on why you kept him and what you did. You know, I'm past it. I'm on the 2024. It's about 2024. I'm done talking about last season and 23. We know it was a collapse. It sucked. You know, watching them, you know, talking about them week in and week out was very, you know, 2020-esque, if you want to talk about kind of, you know, especially the last 7 games. 6 out of the last 7 games were losses. And it gave you that 2020 vibe of, man, it just keeps getting worse. But listen, what they did in free agency going up to right now, Jeffrey was going to get peppered with the questions, and he was going to get asked about, you know, different things. He talked about the one thing, you know, he mentioned, you know, talking about the whole Hassan Reddick thing, because they asked him about Hassan Reddick. He said he's a great player. He's great. You know, he wasn't going to throw that. Now, also, Howie and Nick did speak as well. But we did hear, we heard from them at the combine. So really, there wasn't too much more. Basically, what you can kind of talk to them about were the free agent signings and what they did with that. But, you know, like I said, I'm over the 2023 season and keep harping on why'd you keep Nick Sirianni? Why'd you keep, you know, I'm done with that. It's 2024. You kept the guy. Let's go, move on, and understand the journalists need their questions and need to ask that, and the fans want to hear something, especially since they haven't heard Lurie speak in a little while. But
yeah, I mean, all right, so there's a couple of things with the whole why did you keep Sirianni? So first off, you kept Sirianni because it's a year removed from him being a Super Bowl coach, right? They made the playoffs all 3 of the seasons that he's been around. I mean, it's not like he is a bad coach. yes, the outcome of the season was atrocious. So he did not go in like Doug Peterson did when Doug Peterson was let go and say, we're going to run it back here. No, they're going to make changes. They made wholesale changes. They made drastic changes among the coordinators. They made drastic changes among philosophy of free agency. So I think the difference of why you keep Nick Sirianni is because he's willing to admit, hey, this didn't work. And it is on me. And let's make some changes around me. And now if he fails, you have that conversation. But you're not there. You're not there. And, Lurie mentioned Nick's record. I think he's 31-7 as a head coach or something like that. He mentioned the numbers 31-7. I'm not sure.
Well, I think that was before when he had the 10-1 start, before the collapse. So that's the.
You're not going to fire a coach that has a record like that before the wheels come off. Now, if a pattern starts to develop where that's what we expect, that's when you move on. But you've got your franchise quarterback. You've got an all-star offensive line. You've got all-star wide receivers. You've got now a superstar run. I mean, Nick Sirianni deserves to be the coach. I said the coordinators had to go. Nick Sirianni deserved to be the coach. As far as the Hassan Reddick thing goes, we saw this last offseason where Darius Slay was allowed to go out and look for trades and just kind of test the market and see what it was. I truly believe, and I've been saying this for a couple of weeks, that Hassan Reddick will still be a Philadelphia Eagle. Because he can't not be. The Philadelphia Eagles are not a better team if Hassan Reddick is not on this team.
So the very interesting point about the whole Hassan Reddick and the caveat here is April 1st, Hassan Reddick is due that $1 million bonus that they pushed back. I can't remember what exact date that it was originally due, but they pushed it back to April 1st. So I know $1 million isn't a lot, but there was, to me, that's almost like a soft deadline, or more like a hard deadline, not a soft one. But are they going to trade him or they're not going to trade him? And I think if he goes past April 1st, the potential of him being traded, it could possibly happen. But we've talked about it multiple times. I just don't think that isn't something that needs to happen, is him to be gone. I still think you can make it work with Huff and Sweat and Reddick, because ultimately Huff's going to be here for 2 more years after this first year, because he's a 3-year deal if he doesn't get extended after that. But he's a 3-year deal. Sweat and Reddick most likely are playing on 1-year deals, potentially not going to be on the team in 2025. So for me, I think you can make it work with all 3 guys, and to be able to let Vic Fangio, hey, I got these 3 great pass rushers. I want to put them at your disposal. And you do have other guys. You have the young guys with Nolan, and you have the vet in BG. But I think you can still make it work as a rotation. But again, we'll see where it comes. And I don't know.
And I think you also have to look at overall goals, right? So this Eagles team is a front runner for the Super Bowl. Okay. Now, based on roster alone, now we know that there's teams that are better than them right now, but this Eagles team is at least a competitor for a Super Bowl. So the one team that I heard picking up Hassan Reddick could be the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I love JB, friend of the show, but the Arizona Cardinals are not a Super Bowl contender. So is he going strictly for the money? In which case, okay, but you are automatically pulling yourself, unless you are setting up astronomical numbers entirely by yourself, you are automatically pulling yourself out of competition for something like the Hall of Fame, right? If Hassan Reddick stays here and contributes with pretty dang good numbers and they win a Super Bowl with him, he's a Hall of Famer. If he goes to Arizona, puts up gaudy numbers, but they never even sniff the playoffs, he's not a Hall of Famer. So there's a lot here. Yes, you can make your money, but what is your overall end goal?
My only thing, listen, if he goes to Arizona and, okay, he gets paid, cool, I get that. But they also need pass rushers. Plus, they're at a point right now that, yes, they're rebuilding, but they also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks in the top 100.
Yep.
So their opportunity to start, up in their level in terms of being competitive, it starts this year with all these draft picks and being able to build something in that NFC West, because they, like I said, I don't know what they do with the quarterback with Kyler. I know he's guaranteed money, everything like that.
I
He's gonna
mean,
be healthy.
that's your
But
first issue right there.
listen, they have the multitude of picks to be able to make themselves a little bit better and then a little bit better. Now I know Hassan's 29, going to be 30, but for the Eagles, the Eagles' way of it is, if they get offered a good enough pick, I know they've been looking for a second round pick and they're going to stand firm on it. They want a second round pick. If they get that, I don't think it matters what team that they get it from. They want to get the value, and that to them that'd be the value. But let's say it's to be determined. Let's see what happens. It seems like every week it's just like we keep talking about this until eventually he's definitely staying or he's going. Kind of like Josh Sweat. We kept having that conversation. Okay, Josh Sweat's going to be leaving. There's talk that most likely it's going to be this way. And he got that 1 year guarantee, and then it kind of squashed all that. So we don't got to worry about that anymore. Maybe that comes down the line with Hassan, and we'll see it from there. But I want to talk about the rule changes and the stuff that went down first. Before we talk about the rule changes, Eagles Brazil game, it's going to be between two different opponents, Browns or Packers. That'll be announced, they're saying, potentially next week. So
I mean, they have leaked this so badly at this point
that they're just throwing.
They're just trying to throw deception in there, but it's the Browns.
And that's fine, because I heard today that somebody was talking about the game, and if it's an NFC opponent, it's not fair to the Eagles because it's basically a neutral game against an opponent that may matter in playoff seedings and playoff standings. You don't get them at home. But if it's an AFC opponent, it's better to play a neutral site game against an AFC opponent, which the Eagles did do in 2018 when they played the Jaguars in London. So I think it's going to be the Browns, and we'll see where that goes. Most likely it'll be announced next week that they're saying. But
yeah, I mean, it's going to be the Browns. And honestly, look, I mean, I know in our group chat, we've mentioned the being upset about losing a home game, and we mentioned the being upset about Friday nights and all that. I mean, and the fact of, games on Peacock, like we know that all of these things are going to be reasons to complain. Absolutely. It's just what happens. With that being said, they're going to play the Browns in Brazil. That's what's going to happen. We're all going to tune in and watch. We're all going to figure out ways to watch. I don't know what people are still complaining about. They need to get over it. And it should be a good game. The Browns right now look to be a very competitive team. They've made some additions. They already have a very staunch defense. As long as Deshaun Watson is not their quarterback, I think they'll be a pretty good team.
Yeah. We'll see. But some of the other rules and changes that we had, I guess I'll get it out of the way since you have been adamant on it. The hip drop tackle. Now, Troy Vincent did put a video out there. Now, the one thing I did see, the Mark Andrews play from last year, Dean Blandino was talking about that play, and that would not be considered hip drop tackle.
And that's kind of my point. So all of this really came to the forefront when a superstar player like Mark Andrews got hurt. And then it was, we need to ban the hip drop. We need to ban the hip drop. Up before that, pretty much nobody had ever even heard of a hip drop tackle. And now all of the videos that they're showing, I mean, we already know that it is tough for a defense to find success in the NFL because there are so many rules that benefit the offense. But to outlaw tackling against the player's wishes, I want to say that part too, right? It was unanimous in the competition committee as far as the owners and all that stuff. But for the players to come out and say, do not do this. This is not what we want as players. And for the NFL to completely ignore that, I would not be surprised if you start to see after the first couple hip drop fines coming, players just going, you know what? It's not worth it. You're going to see players not wanting to be a part of the NFL because of this. I mean, I can't stress enough how bad this is.
So this was the video that Troy Vincent set out there in terms of what a hip drop tackle is. Now that looks really bad. You just take your whole weight off and go. But it is bang bang when you look at it.
But all right, so here's my thing, right? We all know when they outlawed the horse collar, it is very easy to see what a horse collar is. The rules are abundantly clear.
I think what they're going to be looking at is this: when a player takes them and then just unweighs himself, and that's one of their big thing, unweighs himself, which just takes them and then just drops and unweighs himself. And then
how do you, as a smaller defender, how do you bring down a player bigger than you?
I'm telling you what's going to happen is this. This is what is going to happen. Is you remember I forget what game it was, the Detroit Lions safety Kirby Joseph went right for the knee of a player. I forget what player he hit. I think was it the Rams? Because I remember Stafford said, yeah, it was the playoff game with the Rams where he went up and he hit. I'm trying to think of who he hit. He hit whoever it was. He hit him right in the knee. And you may start seeing a lot of that where they just go low and you may see some more knee injuries, unfortunately.
And I think the other thing that you really have to worry about, and obviously the internet has done a great job with memery so far since this rule has been released. But I think the other thing that you have to really have a conversation about is with the NFL officiating being under constant scrutiny, why would you add yet another judgment call?
Yeah, it brings those questions. And I think what could possibly happen where it becomes where it's so hard to figure out, what really is a hip drop. Like you may have some super blatant ones.
Yeah.
But remember when the year they had, I think it was a couple years ago, where you could challenge a pass interference?
Yep. Sure do.
And then the next year it went
the way of the dodo.
So you could possibly see that happen. I wouldn't rule that out.
But they got rid of that after what, 1 year, I think it was?
Yeah, 1 year. Just saying, it could potentially happen, but I don't know. We may just have to live with it. You may see.
But how? How do you live with that? How is that something that, I mean, you already, all right, so in youth football, you already have now made a motion to stress heads up tackling, right? Because of concussions and things like that. And it was the right call because you're keeping people safe.
Yeah.
How do you continue to teach all the ways not to tackle?
It's going to be, yeah,
it's actually unsafe, right? It's actually unsafe. You're adding too much thinking. You're adding too much thinking to plays that, like you already said, are bang, bang. How do you continue to protect the defenders? Because the offensive player is allowed to just run right through them.
Listen, I've said this. It's about safety, but it's not really about safety when also was announced that there's going to be a doubleheader on Christmas, which, mind you, Christmas is a Wednesday. So the team's going to play on a Saturday before Christmas, and then they're going to play on Wednesday, which they said it's just like playing a Sunday to Thursday. You talk about safety so much to then say we're going to have a doubleheader on Christmas, which is a middle of the week Wednesday, which is basically unprecedented unless it's, the COVID season where they had to, but they postponed game in, game out. To me, it's so hypocritical when you can say we want to protect these players and then say, well, you know what? You're going to play on Wednesday. We're going to play on Christmas. You're going to play Wednesday.
You're saying that safety is so vital, But if safety is so vital and you're going to put all these rules in place, then why is the Meadowlands field still a thing?
The turf. Yeah.
Why is the turf throughout the entire NFL? But I bring up specifically the Meadowlands because we know how dangerous it is. We look at FedEx Field. We saw how dangerous that field was. If you're so concerned about safety, then you can literally start, and all puns intended, from the ground up.
Yeah, listen, the NFL is their own beast. It's a, humongous corporation. What they do.
What it seems like to me, and this is the teacher side of me, what it seems like to me is there are times when rules and new policies and things like that are passed down from people who aren't in classrooms anymore. Your politicians, your school board people, things like that. And teachers' reactions most of the time is usually the same, which is, this is not going to work. And this person would have no idea because they're not in a classroom.
Yeah.
It seems to me that if your players are saying very, very clearly, do not pass this rule, do not pass this rule, do not pass this rule, and they still go ahead and do it, then I think you've got a bigger divide between the owners and the players.
Well, yeah. And, the people making, like, in the NFL in terms of Troy Vincent and, these guys they played multiple years. I think one of the funniest things is, like, with fines and everything, you have a guy like John Runyon handing out fines. A guy that used to take how many different cheap shots. Yeah, it's just some of that stuff is funny.
I love some John Runyon.
Also, former Eagle James Thrash is in the NFL office as well.
But he drops fines.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I like James Thrash.
I liked James Thrash a lot, but he was definitely not the player we needed him to be.
So the other rule that came into effect was the new kickoff rule, which I love. I am all for it. Listen, the whole start of a game, kick it off into the end zone, and all right, let's start at the 25 now. Let's go to commercial break, and then we'll be back. And it's just like, give me something. It doesn't have to be, the greatest thing, but give me something that could make a play interesting. And the rule that they made is it's what the XFL was experimenting with, where the kickers will kick from their own 35-yard line. The other 10 players from the kicking team will line up opposite of the team's 40-yard line. So the receiving team with 9 players line up in the setup zone between the 35 and 30-yard lines. 2 returners will be stationed in the landing zone from the 20-yard line to the goal line.
Right.
So I think what I like is, if you kick it out of the end zone, a touchback, which usually happens in terms of what it was last year, it goes right to the 30-yard line. You get the ball for the 35 extra yards, basically. Mm-hmm. I guess if it goes behind the team's goal line, it strikes the goal post or lands beyond the goal line in the end zone. It's downed in the end zone. A touchback at the 20 would occur if the ball touches the ground or player in the landing zone and rolls into the end zone. So that also happens too sometimes, where it'll hit and just roll in, and it's downed in the end zone. But that goes to the 20-yard line. Like, I like this because it's gonna put a emphasis on the kickoff returns, which you're seeing, the Steelers signed Cordell Patterson, who's one of the top kickoff returners of all time. The Eagles have, a couple of guys. Once Isaiah Rodgers gets reinstated, you have Isaiah Rodgers, who was a very, very good kick returner for the Colts. You also have Paris Campbell, who they did sign this week. He's a pretty decent kick returner as well. So it's going to put emphasis on that. And I think what I really like about it, because a lot of people were like, well, then just start at the 25-yard line. Don't even worry about kicking off and doing that and any of that stuff. Well, to me, and I know you have punts and punt returns and that kind of play, but the kick return, you still are going to have guys that are going to be your special teams players. It keeps jobs in the league. You have a guy who the bottom end of the roster, but is very good on special teams. He can do certain things. And it's not just the guys tackling, but the guys who are kick returners and the guys who are return men in very dynamic returners. They're keeping themselves some jobs. And it brings to me, it brings excitement, and I'm all for that. I liked it seeing it in the XFL, and I want to see it this season and see how it goes.
So I think it changes some strategy. I think that you have less of like a hands team and less of your I think you have more like offensive linemen, honestly, at that on your kick return. Why? Because you can. In essence, you're blocking, and there is only a 5 yard. You're 5 yards away from the guy you're blocking, so you don't really need to have a lot of speed. So you're going to see a lot of more big bodies, in my opinion. Here's what I will tell you, though. I really do wish that rather than all of this, ultimately kicking off is a skill, right? You have skilled returners, you have skilled players. Why not? If you're able to kick it through the uprights from the 35-yard line or the 30-yard line, wherever you're kicking it from, you get a point. Because that way you're looking at the kickers having a goal. And that way, if you commit a stupid penalty, actually, that wouldn't work, because then if you commit a stupid penalty and you're assess it on the kickoff, then you're kicking off from the 50 and it's just a field goal. So that might not work.
You just
I'd like to
squashed
see
your own thing right there.
I squashed my own thing. I'd like to see a situation where, you have the onside kick. The onside kick doesn't work. So why not make it a 4th and 15?
Well, I know the Eagles proposed this. They proposed the 4th and 20 instead of an onside kick. You get but the pushback with that, Rich McKay, who's one of the heads to the competition committee, their main, issue with it was, so if you have 4th and 20 and there's a defensive holding, it's an automatic.
They did not stop them.
But it's an automatic first down.
Correct, because they didn't stop them.
But then what do you do?
Once again, it's another situation where the referees are allowed to be the deciders of the game. So there's no real good solutions. Now, does this bring back the kickoff? Sure. They could have also just brought back the wedge and more head injuries. I mean, I don't mind it. I think it's going to be confusing to start. It is what it is. It's a play. It makes it an exciting play again. I think you've got bigger issues to solve in the NFL than what the kickoff looks like.
Yeah, but so now with the onside kick, you can do an onside kick but only in the 4th quarter, and you have to let the team, there's no surprise onside kicks.
So you've eliminated a complete tactic.
But it's the old onside kick. It's not you
can put 10 guys on one side.
I think 8 guys on one side and the other team has 6 guys or something along the lines of that. They have 6 guys up front and then 2 guys, but it's not going to be, it's not the new onside kick how it was, which it was so, steered toward.
It was guaranteed you weren't going to get it.
Yeah. So the thing of it now is it's back to the traditional onside kick. So I like that. You at least have that in your back pocket. It's not going to be, as easy as, okay, well, all right, we're losing the game. We can't even get the onside kick because, everything has to equal up and match up. And, but you can have, I think they said up to 8 guys on one side. So it's better than having, I think before everything had to be
5, and it was like 5-5 and a kicker.
Yeah, so you can put another couple guys on the side. Let me just make sure. I think that's what I saw.
And like I said, I don't mind that. I think that's totally fine, totally appropriate. It's just, I think that you have other issues in the NFL that you could have solved. How much time was spent arguing over whether or not the tush push should go away?
Yeah. Which it won't, so we don't got to worry about that.
And it shouldn't. Just because the play works, I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, it shouldn't. You're penalizing someone that, does something really well. That's like penalizing Tom Brady he can't throw the ball
in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, like it's stupid. Like you can't be dumb. You can't be that dumb when it comes to that. Just because someone does something good or has a player that's so much better. Like
in my opinion, you cannot have rules that target a team.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
You know, as simply as can be said, you cannot have rules that target a team.
No.
Like, think about it. If, you know, it's the anniversary of, 28-3, because, today's March 23rd, right? Or March 28th. So, okay, well, now if you're down 21 points, we'll call it the Atlanta Falcons rule. If you're down 21 points, you have a running clock for moving forward.
Yeah.
Like, you're just not going to have that.
No, you're not. So, let me see. I just want to make sure the onside kick is what I said. Yeah. There's no fair catch with the onside kick. Onside kicks permitted in the fourth quarter. Set up landing zones do not change after penalty. All right. So, just trying to see the alignment. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess so. It's whatever.
Like
I think it's the old traditional onside kick, which I think.
Well, we'll find out. I mean, and that's what it comes down to. We will find out as the season really gets kicked off, what it ends up being.
Yeah.
So neither of the rules are drastic enough that it should change a game. However, the hip drop will be the one that does.
Yeah. The other thing I did see that I liked was now there'll be the replay official, whether like roughing the passer and stuff, they can overturn that, look over and say, hey, that really wasn't, that's something I like, because those plays are so bang that a ref could easily miss that because of how fast these players are going. And if a quarterback makes a movement that looks like it's worse than it is, it can be overturned, which, listen, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down, especially if it's on a 3rd and long, makes a huge difference in the terms of the game instead of punting or a team gets another set of downs. So stuff like that, I agree.
The overall goal of every single call be to get it right?
Yeah, it should be to get it right. That's what it should be all about.
That's how I feel about it in baseball when I'm umpiring.
But it can't take forever. These games can't be 5.5 hours.
But it shouldn't now. It shouldn't now, because if you look at how much they have available to them in the terms of instant replay and things like that, it shouldn't take that long.
Mm-hmm. No, it shouldn't. They should be a quick one. You have the guy in your ear, and he says, nope, overturn that. It's not a penalty. Boom. And you just make that call. It should be quick. It shouldn't be, taking forever and then slowing the game up, because that's not what we need. It's not what we want. We want the game to be, at a pace that is to our liking, but you also want things to go right. You want things to be right. You want the calls to be right. You want all that to be on point.
Yeah, you have to get the call right. That's what it comes down to. That's it. No matter what it takes. And we talk about all the time how the NFL is, big money business. Get the call right. Get the officials out of the blame game.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So I want to go and there we go. Make that. So I posted something this week that brought up some conversation.
Yeah, because you wanted to start some drama, and I love it. And I love it for you.
I wouldn't say it's drama. I think you could stop with that. It's not.
Listen, I need Eagles drama in the offseason. Come on.
So let me go here, and there we go. So it's which scenario do you choose? And there is 9 selections here.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of eyes on it. Over 238,000. A lot of people commenting in, liking, quote tweeting. So there was a lot of people's voices in this post. So that's one reason I really wanted to put it up here, is because, and it wasn't all just one option. there was a lot of different options and what people wanted to see. The first one is Buddy invests in the offensive line, something that he didn't do at his time with the Eagles. He just picked up guys. It was trading for, older players. It wasn't really investing in helping his quarterback, which we'll get to in a couple paces over here. Mike Quick stays healthy. He unfortunately cut his career short because of injuries, knee injuries, which kind of stunk because you would have liked to see him play into the 90s, the early 90s. Randall stays healthy in 1991. This was a very popular one. We all know the Eagles' 1991 defense is one of the greatest defenses of all time. And I will state the Eagles' 1991 defense is the greatest defense of all time, which keep an eye out later. But that is something I will talk about this offseason when it's a little slow period, because I have some metrics, some numbers, some things that will kind of blow your mind when it comes to that defense. Deuce plays all of 2000. Of course, Deuce gets an foot injury in 2000, and he, doesn't finish the season. I think he played 2 or 3 games, and then it was a multitude of backs. Amp Lee, Brian Mitchell, Chris Warren signed off.
Was that the Correll Buckhalter year?
Stanley Pritchett. Buckhalter was drafted the next year.
Got it.
Reed surrounds McNabb with playmakers. This is another one what was very popular. We all know Andy Reid didn't really surround McNabb with playmakers until T.O. came, which T.O. and McNabb have no problems. That's the next one. That's another one that was very popular. And then we have Shady, D-Jack, and Macklin staying together. We all know Chip Kelly kind of broke them all apart. And then Foles stays and Wentz is gone after 2018. So the vice versa, the switcheroo on that. And then the last one, Eagles draft Jefferson, which also was somewhat of a popular one. Chip, I'll give you the floor here. What is your, scenario you would select?
So I can eliminate a couple of these just because they didn't really have too much of an effect on my Eagles fandom. So I really didn't start watching Eagles football until Ray Rhodes was the head coach. So that is why I can confidently say, buddy, you're just not it for me. Mike Quick, again, love you as a commentator, but didn't really know you as a player. Randall's where you start getting interesting with me. Again, Randall was absolutely dominant. But again, it was still a little bit before my time. Love me some Deuce Staley. But I don't think him playing the whole season totally changes the course of that season. Because again, Andy Reid still liked to pass the ball. So right away, I can eliminate the first 4. I can also eliminate Eagles drafting Justin Jefferson, because it didn't matter whether or not we drafted Justin Jefferson or not. We didn't really have the quarterback at that time. We didn't have the quarterback. We didn't have all the pieces we needed. We didn't have it. So Justin Jefferson would have been a great piece to have, but again, didn't really have much there. I don't see a universe, even in this fictitious Ulecka universe, where Foles was ever going to stay. I know the clamoring was what it was, but Wentz at the time was coming off of an MVP level campaign. He was always going to stay. It just so happens that it did not work out in the long run. So now I've got 3 remaining, and this is where my thought processes kind of went to. I love the Shady, D-Jack, Macklin staying together one. I loved it. I don't think they had the coach. I don't think that Chip Kelly was the correct coach. I said at the minute that they hired him that he was the wrong man for the job. So, and even there was a lot of weaknesses on defense. There. So now I'm torn between T.O. and McNabb and Reid surrounding McNabb with playmakers. And I look at what the Kansas City Chiefs have been able to do. And yes, they have Patrick Mahomes and they have Travis Kelce. And besides that, in my opinion, they don't have superstar level. I mean, they had with Tyreek Hill for sure, but they don't really have superstar level talent. They've got good talent that plays up because Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are such weapons. But when you add that elite talent, like a T.O., you push yourself past that being stuck at the conference championship level to Super Bowl status, which is why, for me, if T.O. and McNabb could have kept their crap together, I truly believe they would have won at least 2 Super Bowls together. That is my pick. That fallout was so disappointing because during that season, you saw what it could be.
Yeah, that would see it's and I like this question because
I think it's a great question, Johnny.
It's tough because to me, I would say Randall healthy in 91. Unfortunately, I was alive, but I didn't see him. So it's, to me, that's tough. The T.O. and McNabb not having problems, I like that. But if you shift over to the next one, Reed surrounding McNabb with playmakers, and T.O. is a playmaker, so he did surround him with one player, but then stopped. And then we went with, getting Kevin Curtis and then getting the Dante Stallworth. And these guys were good players. They weren't superstars. And listen,
But that to me kind of says the point that I made, which is Patrick Mahomes has those Dante Stallworth kind of players and has won multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So the issue is the quarterback.
Yes and no. McNabb was very, very good. He's one of the best quarterbacks in Eagles
history. He's the best quarterback in Eagles history.
But if you want to backtrack and look at these NFC Championship games, and the Carolina game is kind of a throw it out because McNabb was late hit and hurt, and that kind of threw everything out there, unfortunately. 2002 had the started great and then fell apart. 2001 they had the lead and then the defense, unfortunately it is what it is. 2008, now not even talking the Super 2008, they had the lead. They were up 25-24, I believe, after the Deshaun touchdown. And the defense, I think it was it like an 8-minute drive? Let them go all the way right down the field and score a touchdown. And then Eagles, unfortunately, weren't able to come back, and Arizona went to the Super Bowl. So I think there's a little bit of bad luck. And to me, I think that one's tough. 2008, I think, is one of the toughest games as an Eagles fan.
We should not have lost to Arizona.
That NFC Championship game is the toughest because when you look at it, it was the end of that era because Dawkins' last game as an Eagle, Trey Thomas's last game as an Eagle, John Runyon's last game as an Eagle, defensive coordinator Jim Johnson's last game coaching the defense for the Eagles because he passed away in 2009. Then that summer, I believe. So, that one is huge, but that's where I would go.
You would go with that playmaker one.
I'd go with the playmaker one. Yeah. A close second would be the Randall staying healthy because I feel like he stays healthy. They went 10-6 with a bunch of scabs as quarterbacks. So, for me, that's what I would do.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that, as I said, those two were my final two. I just think that so then you did put a playmaker with them and you saw what it could be. And for it to have that very, very public display of awfulness and how it ended, I mean, it said to me that I don't need to ask the what if. I know that the Eagles could have been great with that elite level talent.
Yeah, you're right. But listen, I thought it was a great thing, especially wasn't too much going on, to throw that out there, to talk about. I've got a couple more in the works, so we'll definitely bring those on every so often, just kind of get some conversation going, some what if scenarios and stuff like that, because it's fun to go and dig into a little bit the Eagles history when it's the slow period here and not much going on. But I thought it'd be fun, but that kind of wraps up the show this week, and we'll see what the Eagles have in store. Maybe some news breaks, and we'll get to talking. But when we come back next time, it'll be April, and the draft is only a few weeks away. So it's going to be fun.
Wild. That is wild.
It's going to be fun. But appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe button, all our socials on the bottom there. So make sure you're following us, getting all the content. We're always here, and appreciate everybody following, everybody commenting in, everyone watching. But with that, we always end it with 2 special words. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.